Kadosh Boker Or Masechet Menahot Daf Yomi Daf Ayin Bet Amud Aleph 72a1 says the Gemara. We're by the two dots, so it's a second line. Kotzrin mipnei anetiot umipnei bet havel umipnei bet hamedrash. So we're going to reap the omer, right? Because of the netiot, because of the saplings. Okay, saplings are the young trees. Umipnei bet havel, or because of bet havel, or because of the bet hamedrash. So let's see. Says the Gemara. What's the reasoning why these ketzirot are allowed before the Korban HaOmer? Remember, usually we said you're not allowed to do it before Korban HaOmer because maybe you're going to eat chadash, and chadash is an isur doraita, and therefore we don't want you to eat it. But why are you allowed to reap it for these things? So answers the Gemara, ketzirechem amarachmana. It says, look, you're not allowed to do your reshit ketzirechem. Your reapings has to be done shelachem velo ketzir mitzvah, not for a ketzir mitzvah. Therefore, any ketzir which is going to be done for tzorich mitzvah is going to be mutar. So part of the ones which are going to be mutar is because of the bet midrash, because of the bet avel, or mipeneh ha netiot. Okay. Here it says because of the bet avel and bet midrash, it's a mitzvah in order that they could actually sit down and learn, right? And they could do birkat avelim, they could learn Torah. And according to the other explanation, because of the netiot, it's also a mitzvah because of not to be over on the isur of kilaim. Kilaim is putting the two different trees together, right? You're not allowed to craft, you're not allowed to put the trees, right, from different species, binding them together. Remember, kilaim is in fruits, kilaim is in clothing, right? Kilaim is in animals, right? So you have kilaim in every different part. Okay? Next part. Velo ya'aseh krichot aval manichin tzevatim. So you're not allowed to make, when you are going to come and you're going to permit to reap before the Korban HaOmer, you're not allowed to come and to make them bundles which are tied, but rather manichan tzvatim. You have to put them like agudot, but without tying them. Okay? I'm bet amud aleph, right? So he says, my tama, what's the reasoning? The kama devshar lo tarchinam, because we try to make as much as possible that there's not going to be a lot of tircha. Okay? So because of that, we don't let you come and make stocks and bundles and start to tying them up. Mitzvah ha'omer lavi min kama. So we went and we said that the korban ha'omer, the mitzvah is to bring it from the kama, right? However, though, what happens if you can't bring it from the kama? So Tanu Rabbanan, we came and we learned in a braita, right? Ve'im takriv minchat bikurim. When it says that you're going to bring the minchat bikurim, ma talmud lomar, what does it come to teach you? This pasuk takriv, because the word takriv is actually extra. Okay, because it says takriv minchat bikurecha. Okay, we just actually read this in this week's parasha. Okay, in this week's parasha we read this pasuk. It's Vayikra Bet Yudalit. So we just read it. Okay, if you want to see the Torah Ora Shalem, it says it in the Bet. Ve'im takriv minchat bikurim lashem aviv kalui ba'esh geres karmel takriv em minchat bikurecha. So why does it say twice, right? The word takriv. So he says lefishe mitzvat ha'omer, because the mitzvat ha'omer is lavi min kama, that you should do it from the kama when it's in stalks, right? Just like it says in the pasuk, me'achel chermesh bakama. So you should bring it from the kama. Minayin shim lo matza min kama yavi min. So okay, what happens if I couldn't find it? I couldn't find it in stalks. I already cut them down. I reap them. So therefore it's already on the floor, right? They're the omarin. How do you know? Tamul omar takriv. So the extra takriv is coming to say that even if it was niktzar, not for the omer, I could still bring it for the omer. Meaning like this: I come into a field. The lechatchila is that I should reap and bring the korban haomer. I come in. There's nothing. There's no stalks. There's nothing. Everything's already on the floor because they reaped it already. It was a bet midrash. It was a whatever it was. So what? I could bring it from there. Why the extra word takriv? Davar acher. Another explanation. What does it tell you? The extra word takriv. Lefi mitzvah lavi min alach. It's a mitzvah to bring it when it's moist, right? Why? Because if you remember, we said that comes from Carmel, right? Right? Why? Because from the word Carmel, we said it should be Carmel is rach and mal. You remember? Look in number 9. Oh, okay. Samech vav amubet. That's where we learned it. Rach mal. Okay. So therefore, right? You move around the word and it becomes Carmel is rach and mal. Okay. So he comes and he says, right, like this. So he says the fact that it's coming from that word of Carmel, that you split it up and it becomes rach and then mal. So therefore it's supposed to come when it's lach. How do you know that if you don't find it moist, you could still bring it when it's dry? Tamulumar takriv, you could bring a takriv. Tavar acher, another explanation. What is the word takriv teaching you? The mitzvah is to do the ketzirah on the nighttime. That's what we do also. When do we count Sefirat HaOmer? the nighttime. That was the mitzvah when you would come and you would reap the korban haomer. Minayin shim nitzar bayom kasher. But how do you know that if you do it during the daytime, it's going to be kasher, and also that it's going to be dochet Shabbat? Tamun lomar takriv. So this extra word takriv is coming to teach you that it could also be done during the day of the 16th. Plus, it pushes off Shabbat. Takriv is mashma. You could bring kolshu. Takriv is mashma that you could bring mikol makom. What does that mean, mikol makom? Any place, meaning not only any amount, right, but also, right, from any place, meaning even if it's going to be distance from Yerushalayim. Okay, v'takriv vafilu b'Shabbat and takriv vafilu b'tumah. Meaning from the same word of takriv, we're learning a lot of different halachot. So what are we learning? We're learning, first of all, right, that one more time, that it should come from the kama. If it doesn't come from the kama, it could come from the omarim. Number 2, it should come from lach. But if it doesn't come from lach, it could come yavesh, which is dry. Number 3, it's supposed to be done at nighttime. But if it does not done at nighttime, you could do it during the daytime. And it also pushes off Shabbat. Number 4, it's takriv kolshu. What does that mean? Even from the omarim, which are not the koma, even in any place, even if it's going to be distance from Yerushalayim, right? And also that it's going to be brought on Shabbat, and also even betum'ah. That means in any matzav. So in all these things, you're learning from the word takriv. Okay? Fine. Nekuda. Says the Mishnah, the 2 dots. Niksar bayom kasher. We just said that if you're going to be reaping during the day, it's going to be kosher. Vatnan, we learned in the Mishnah, kol alayla kasher liksirat haomer laktir chalavim vevrim. Right? We said, this is a Mishnah, by the way, in Megillah. Meaning, even though we also learned in Masechet Berachot about the hekter chalavim vevarim, right? The first Mishnah in Berachot, which is the first Mishnah in Shas, but we're going to see the entire nighttime is kosher for ketzirat haomer and for hekter chalavim vevarim, the bringing of the fats and the limbs to the mizbeach. Zeh kelal. This is the general rule. Davar shemitzvato bayom kasher kol hayom. Anything which is kosher during the day is kosher the entire day. Davar shemitzvato balayla. Anything which is kosher during the nighttime is kasher kol halayla. It's going to be kosher the entire night. Ktana layla dumya diyom. And we learned nighttime just like day. Just like the yom balayla, I can't do the day during the nighttime, so to the nighttime I can't do during the day. Meaning like this. Technically speaking, all the mitzvot, if I have a mitzvah during the nighttime, I have the entire night to do it. Many times the rabbi said until chatzot, le'archik et adam min ha'avera, to distance a person from doing sin. But really, be'emet, you have the entire nighttime. So therefore, you've got the entire night to read the Megillah. You've got the entire night to do Kriyat Shema. You've got the entire night of Arvit. Now, again, there's always going to be a lichatchila. So they tell you lichatchila always chatzot. But if not, the guy's going to keep on saying, yeah, I've got time, I've got time, I've got time. By the time he falls asleep, he doesn't do it. So because of that, they said you shouldn't do it. But really, be'emet, right, you have it. Okay? Fine. Says the Gemara. So therefore, he says, Amar Rabba. Rabba comes and he says, Lakashasana, a question. Ha-Rebi, ve-ha-Rabbi Lazar b'Rabbi Shimon. The Mishnah that comes and it says that if it was done during the day, it's going to be kosher. That is according to Shtat Rebbe. But the Mishnah in Megillat Esther, in Masechet Megillah, that teaches you that if you do it during the day, it's going to be pasul. That is Rabbi Lazar b'Rabbi Shimon. But according to him, if you do it during the day, it's going to be not kasher. So according to Shittat Rabbi Lazar b'Rabbi Shimon, it's not kosher if you did the ketzirat haomer during the day. It has to be done during the night. You have the whole night, but you have to do it during the night. The Tanya was learned in a Braita. Haya omer makriv b'minchat haomer, right? The Kohen used to stand, right? He wasn't on his phone, obviously. Haya Kohen omed umakriv minchat haomer, and he was bringing the korban haomer. V'nitzmet. And what happens if it becomes tameh? Im yesh acheret, if you've got other omer lo, come and tell him, ve'acheret tachteach, bring another one. V'im lav, and if not, omer lo, he tells him, heve pikach u'shtok. Shtok. You heard? Be a pikeach. Be smart. Keep quiet. Yeah? That means basically you just keep quiet and you bring it when it's tameh. You keep quiet. Be a pikeach. Keep quiet. Divrei Rebbe. These are the words of Rebbe. No, it's not that we're covering the Avirah. We just tell him that you have to bring it that way. Remember that Tumah hutra betzibur. This is a korban tzibur. You remember? Tumah becomes permitted in a tzibur. This is a korban tzibur. Okay? So he says, Divrei Rebbe, these words are Rebbe. Rabbi Lazar Shimon Omer, ben kach uben kach, Omer lo, you always tell him, Heve pikach ushtok, keep quiet. Why? Shekol haomer shenichsar shelo kemitzato pasul. Because anyway, you just did it during if you did it and it wasn't done properly, it's going to become pasul anyway. So even so, right, you can't come and say now that you're going to do nuance, but anyway, it's already pasul. Meaning like this, according to Rabbi Lazar, one more time, let's listen carefully. According to Rabbi Lazar Rabbi Shimon, the fact that you do it during the day, it's already pasul. So anyway, it's already pasul. Now, what are you going to tell him? Go reap another one now. It's already too late. When do you bring the Korban HaOmer? According to everybody, doctor, when do you bring Korban HaOmer? During the day. When do you reap it? During the night. According to Rabbi Lazar Rabbi Shimon, are you allowed to reap it during the day? No. So according to Rabbi Lazar Rabbi Shimon, anyways, you're going to tell him, keep quiet. Why? Because anyway, it's already pasul. What are you going to tell him? Go bring another one out. Go reap now. It's always pasul already. So therefore, according to Shita, reaping during the day is pasul. Ketzira bayom is pasul. According to Shita Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Shimon.
If he found another, he would bring it.
If he found another one, he would bring it. Yes. It had to be reaped during the nighttime. Right, but that's why he said. That's why according to Shita Rabbi Elazar Shimon, he says benkach ubenkach. Whether you have other ones or not doesn't matter. You tell him shtok. Why? You're not doing it according to the mitzvah. Anyway, it's pasul. So you bring it the way that it is. That's it. Amar Rabbi Baruch Rabbi Yochanan. Again, this sounds very familiar. Says Rabbi Baruch in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Shimon, Mishitat Rabbi Kiva, Rabu Aviv. Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Shimon goes according to the shita of his Rebbe, right? Of his Rebbe who? Of Rabbi Akiva. Yeah, he says why, right? He says like this. He says because basically Rabbi Elazar was the son of who? Of Rabbi Shimon. Who's Rabbi Shimon? Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. So Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was a student of Rabbi Akiva. So that's what it means here. Rabbi Elazar be Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Elazar, the son of Rabbi Shimon, is going according to the Shita of Rabbi Akiva, his father's rabbi. Right? Rabo Shel Aviv Amra. That's what he said it. The Tanam was we learned in the Mishnah. Okay, we're talking about right now a few Mishnayot that are talking about things which are doche the Shabbat. Kalal Amar Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva came and he gave you a general rule. Kol melacha she'efshar lo lasotam erev Shabbat and dochet Shabbat. Any melacha that you can do before Shabbat does not push off the Shabbat. V'savar like Rabbi Ishmael. Now Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Shimon also holds like Rabbi Ishmael. The Amar that he says ketzirat haomer is a mitzvah. That means it's going to be a mitzvah. If it's a mitzvah, it's dochet Shabbat. The Tanam was we learned on a Mishnah and Shavit. Rabbi Ishmael Omer ma charish reshut av katzir reshut. There we said mefurash that whenever we're talking about charisha, which is plowing which is going to be for the shoot, which means it's not for a mitzvah, it's a sur. But in ketzira is the same thing. But if there's going to be ketzirat haomer, which is a mitzvah, you're allowed to do it on Shabbat. So it comes out, you're allowed to do ketzirat haomer on Shabbat, according to Rabbi Ishmael. And if it's a mitzvah, so therefore you're allowed to do it on Shabbat. Now if you're going to tell me, that if you did the ketzira not like the mitzvah, it's still going to be kosher. Amai dachi Shabbat. Why is it going to be doche Shabbat? Niksere merev Shabbat. Do the ketzira merev Shabbat, and then that's it. So therefore, ela but rather midache Shabbat. The fact that we push off Shabbat, shmamina niksar shelo k'mitzato pasul. So it's going to be pasul. Meaning like this. Everyone, look up. We're learning from here that this is a proof that he holds that if you do it on Shabbat during the day, it's pasul. Why? If you hold that you could do it during the day, right? So therefore, 1 second. So why are we doing it, right? Why are we pushing it off? It has to be that it's a mitzvah. The fact that it's a mitzvah, just do it Erev Shabbat. You can't do it on Erev Shabbat. You have to do it on the Shabbat in itself because it's a mitzvah to do Ketzirat HaOmer. Now he says the fact that it's going to be a mitzvah and it's pushing off Shabbat, so that's how we know that if you didn't do it like the proper mitzvah, it's pasul. Right? Why? Because that's why it's Doche Shabbat. If it wasn't Doche Shabbat, meaning like this, if I would be able to do it during the day, so then do it on the day before. Do it on Yom Tov. Do the Ketzira the day before. Right? Why do I have to wait until Shabbat? Why is it Doche Shabbat? Elama, I have to do it on Friday night. And that's why it's Doche Shabbat. Why is it Doche Shabbat? Because I can't do it. I can't even do it during Shabbat day. What? Because if I would have been able to do it on Shabbat day, so do it on Friday. Right? Friday would have been Yom Tov. Remember, the day before is always Yom Tov, the first day of Yom Tov. Right? But do it on Friday. The fact that I'm coming and I'm doing it on Friday night is showing you that it's a mitzvah, and that's why it's Doche Shabbat. So the fact that it's Doche Shabbat, that's what he says. One more time, let's read it again. If you're going to tell me it's kasher, that if you did it not like the mitzvah, it's still going to be kosher. So why is it Doche Shabbat? Shabbat, just do the Ksira Erev Shabbat, and then you don't have a problem. Shabbat, the fact that you're doing it on Shabbat, Shema Mina comes to teach you, is pasul. So therefore, that's a proof that Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Shimon is the one that's holding the what? That if you do the Ketzirat HaOmer during the day, it's pasul. It has to be during the night. So says the Gemara, the Rebbe loved Talmidei Rabbi Shimon. He says, 1 second, but Rebbe is not a Talmid of Rabbi Shimon. Yeah? Look over here. Who's the rabbi of Rebbe? Rashbag, Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. So he comes and he says, right, is Rebbe not a student of Rabbi Shimon? The Tanya was learned in a Braita. Amar Rabbi Shimon, Bore kama chaviva mitzvah b'sha'ata, שהרי חלבים ואיברים כשרים כל הלילה, right? ולא היה ממתין להן עד שתחשך. He says like this, do you know look how precious are mitzvot. Says, why? Look how precious are mitzvot that really be'emet you have the entire night to bring ekter chalavim ve'varim. But, right, and we could have pushed it off for whenever we wanted. And we could have done it on Motzei Shabbat. But they wouldn't even wait until nighttime. Meaning they used to be mechalel Shabbat in order to come and to bring it during the day. Why? Because lechatchila you should bring it during the day. And because of chibuv the mitzvah, it would push off the Shabbat. So therefore you see from here that even Rebbe holds that Ksirat HaOmer is kosher during the day. He still holds like Rabbi Akiva, that obviously you could do it before Shabbat. It's not going to push off Shabbat. Bechol he still holds, right, that it is going to be Doche Shabbat. He says, why? He says, because of Chabivut HaMitzvot, right? So it's completely different than what we were talking about before. Here you see that because of Chibuv Mitzvah, you make precious a Mitzvah, you're allowed to be Mechalel Shabbat. They could have waited for Motzei Shabbat and brought the Ekter Chalavim Vavarim. They didn't wait. They did it right away. The question is why? Why are you being Mechalel Shabbat? Chibuv Mitzvah. It was so precious for them, the mitzvah, they didn't even wait until nighttime. They used to do it right away. They used to bring the Evarim and everything. Well, obviously we're talking, no. Obviously there's certain halachot, obviously, you understand? But that's what we're talking about. Okay, I'm bet amubet, 72b. So he says, Rabbi Lazar Rabbi Shimon lo shmi alein. Rabbi Lazar Rabbi Shimon, he didn't hear this ruling of Rabbi Shimon. Elashane hatam, it's different over there. Share dachata shechita at Shabbat. Shechita was doche the Shabbat. Ul Rebbe, and according to Rebbe, hachanami dachata shechita at Shabbat. He says also pushed off the Shabbat. Meaning, when you're going to come and you're going to tell me Chabiva mitzvah b'sha'atah is only going to push off the Aktara on Shabbat, he says by Ketzirat HaOmer, it still wasn't pushed off yet. So therefore, again, the question goes back, why does Ketzirat HaOmer doche the Shabbat according to him? You could have done it before Shabbat. If you could do it before Shabbat, so do it before Shabbat. Why are you doing it on Shabbat? The general rule was only if you can't do it before Shabbat, so you could do it on Shabbat. But if you could do it Erev Shabbat, do it Erev Shabbat. Ela kasavar Rebbe, but rather Rebbe holds you're right. Ketzirat HaOmer does not doche the Shabbat. So says the Gemara, what? Velo? He was going to say it's not going to doche the Shabbat. But today we learned in the Mishnah, Chachamim omrim, echa b'Shabbat ve'echa b'chol, right? Mishalosh hayaba. Whether it's Shabbat or Chol, they used to bring it from 3 seorim. You remember we said that there was a few differences between Shabbat and Chol, whether you bring with three sickles and 3 baskets and 3 people, or one kohen, but according to everybody you bring it. So answers the Gemara, that was not like Rebbe. That Mishnah was not like Rebbe. Chachamim אומרים, Chachamim come and they say, אחד שבת ואחד בחול בשלושה, ושלוש קופות ושלוש מגלות. You remember we said whether it's going to be Shabbat or Chol, you always bring it with 3 people that are doing the reaping, 3 baskets, and 3 sickles. And says the Gemara again, that's not like Rebbe. Shabbat, you're going to tell them Shabbat zo, this is on Shabbat. Again, that's not like Rebbe. Meaning, any time that it was ever mentioned in the Mishnayot or all these things or in all these this Mishnayot that are saying that basically that it's not going to be that it's going to be on Shabbat was not like Rebbe. Okay, Niktzar bayom v'dochet Shabbat. We said that it's going to be done the ktsira during the day and it's going to push off the Shabbat. Man Shammai, who's the one that said Niktzar bayom kasher? It's Rebbe. V'ktani we learned dochet Shabbat. So we're not talking about ktsira. It says no, we're talking about hakrava. Aval ktsira lo. Meaning according to Shtat Rebbe, you only bring it to the mizbeach during the day, right, during Shabbat, but you don't reap it on Shabbat. So says the Gemara, lo leakrava velo lektsira lo. So he says no, but rather for hakrava. We're talking about that you're not going to, that the Shabbat is going to do it only for Krava, but not for Ketzira. Tanya, we learned in a Braita, Rebbe says, Vaydaber Moshe et Moadei Hashem, that Moshe Rabbeinu was going to speak about the Moadim. Matamun was coming to teach you, Lefi shelo lemanu ele Tamid Pesach. We only saw that Korban Tamid and Pesach, which is Doche Shabbat and Tum'ah. So the Korban Tamid was brought every single day. That's why it's called Korban Tamid. Tamid means constant, right? But right in the morning and in the nighttime. And you have Pesach. It's also Dochet Shabbat. Shneimar b'hem b'moado, because it says in its proper time. B'moado afilu Shabbat. The proper time, and even on Shabbat. B'moado afilu b'tumah, or even if it's going to be tameh. Shal korbanot tzibur minayin. How do we know about all the other korbanot tzibur that it's also brought on Shabbat? Tamulomar el ta'asu la'Hashem b'moadechem. Right? These are the things that you have to do in their proper times. How do you know that whatever you're going to bring the omer, right, which is brought with him, which is brought with it? The pasuk is coming and making it a moed for everything that we mentioned now. So says the Gemara lemai for what? If it's going to be for bringing it, hakrava, meaning bringing it to the mizbeach, shtei alechem, you don't bring it. You don't bring the shtei alechem to the mizbeach. The shtei alechem is eaten by the kohanim, right, when they're not on their phones. Elapshita, but rather letchina v'arkada. We're talking about on when you're sifting and you're and you're doing the separations. The chavata legabe omer ksira when you're doing the reaping. V'kadachet Shabbat, it's going to push off Shabbat. So he says, you're right. Ela omer la krava, v'shtei alechem la afiyah. Meaning the omer is you're bringing it onto the mizbeach. It's not the reaping. The shtei alechem is when you're baking it, not when you're actually eating it. Right? V'kasava Rebbe tanur mekadesh. So according to Rebbe, he holds that the tanur is going to be mekadesh kedushat aguf. So yafilem etmol, if you're going to do it from yesterday, ipaslu belina. Meaning if you take the shtei alechem and you bake it erev Shavuot, you just made it pasul. Pasul belina, and leftovers. So you have to bake it on the same day. The Savar Rebbe Tanur Mekadesh, what? Rebbe actually holds that the Tanur is going to make it holy. Vatanya, we learned in a Braita, Kivsei Atzeret Emek Kachin Telechem. The Kivasim of Shavuot, they don't sanctify the Shtei Alechem, Ela b'shchita, only by shchita. Keitzad shechatal nishman v'zarakta dam nishman. If you shechted it for the sake of the kvasim and you did the zirikat dam nishma kadash alechem, it becomes holy. Shachtan shelo lishma v'zarakat shelo lishman. If you did the shchita lo lishma, the dam lo lishma, lo kadash alechem, it didn't do anything. Shachtan nishma v'zarakta dam nishma. If you did the shchita lishma, but the sprinkling of the blood shelo lishma, halechem kadosh ve'en kadosh. It's half half. These are the words of Rebbe. He says it has to be, for it to become kadosh, you need everything properly. You need the shchita and the zrika lishma. If you have the zrika and the zrika is the sprinkling of the blood, and the shchita is the shchita, it has to be lishman in order to make it holy. So Amar Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, says Nachman Yitzchak, hukbeu velo hukbeu kamar. We're talking about that it was hukba or not hukba. What does that mean? The Braita that says, according to Rebbe, that it's not going to become kadosh, shtei alechem b'kedushat haguf, and when sometimes yes, sometimes no, it's matai shenikvaot and tzichim levo davka im kvasim. If it came with the kvasim, right? And when it's not going to be kavua, it's talking about when it didn't come from the kvasim. Hadran alach Rabbi Yishmael. There's a Mishnah, new Perek Shvi, 7th chapter, Ain Bet Amud Bet, 72b, the new Mishnah. Ve'elu menachot nikmatzot. These are the menachot that they do kmitza. Ve'shirehen lakohanim. The leftovers go to the kohanim. Minchat hasolet, machavat, marcheshet, chalot, rekikin. Right? Minchat ovdei kochavim, minchat nashim, minchat haomen, minchat chote, minchat kenaot. So how many do you have? Very good. Okay, so you've got these 9. These are the 9 that basically the leftover of the kmitzah are given to the kohanim. Okay, Rabbi Shimon Omer, minchat chote shel kohanim nikmetzet. The minchat chote is going to be of the kohanim. By the way, when I gave somebody an aliyah, I think it was the doctor the Shabbat, right, we spoke about it, about that minchat chote, lo yasim alea Hashem lo yasim alea avona. You remember? We learned it. Right? I was reading it, and I remember I was gonna, push the. Okay, so he says minchat chote shel kohanim nikmetzet. You do kmitzah, and the kometz is brought by itself. Vashidaim are brought by itself. So they're both brought on the mizbeach, but it doesn't go to the kohen at all. Meaning, according to him, according to Rabbi Shimon, the minchat chote, right, of a kohen. So minchat chote of a kohen, nothing goes to the kohen. If it's a minchat chote of a human being, a regular non-kohen, it goes to the kohen. Right, the kmitzah goes to the mizbeach, and all the rest goes to the kohen. But if it's minchat chote of kohanim, everything is brought to the mizbeach. Kmitzah is brought by itself, and the shidaim is brought by itself. Says the Gemara, Amar Rav Papa says, Kol heichaditnan. Anytime when we learned in the Mishnah Seder, it's talking about 10. Yeah, 10. Did you have 10, doctor? You had 9. No, it is 10 because chalot and rekikin are 2. You understood? That's what we said. We learned that last time also. Because remember, we said that it was 2 because it was 2 separate entities. So v'achalot v'rekikin is 2, so it's 10. So anytime that we learned in the Mishnah, it's going to be 10. So says the Gemara, but that way we learned on Num Tet Amud Aleph, on Samech Amud Aleph, and now we just did it on Ayin Bet Amud Bet. So my Kamash I'm going to come and teach you. La'apuk of the Shimon is coming to exclude Rabbi Shimon the Amar that he says chalot mechza rekikin mechza chalo mechza rekikin yavi. So Kamash Malan you remember was we said that he said you could bring half and half. You could bring half chalot and half rekikin. So he said no. Everyone else says not like that because then it would become like 11. So like meaning it would be like 9. So when it says that it's 10, it's 2 separate. Meaning if I bring the chalot, I cannot bring the kikin cannot bring chalot. Okay, next. Shirehen lekohanim. The leftovers always go to the kohanim. Menalan, how do we know? Menalan, how do you know? Right? Again, the same thing. You remember? Menalan, how do you know this? Menalan, bitmia. Right? From where? What are you talking about? Dichtiva, it's written in the pasuk. Right? Dichtiva, right? It's written. Ketiva lo ktiva. He says no. Ketiva, it's written. V'zot Torah mincha hakrev ota bnei Aaron v'anotenu mimena yochlu Aaron u'banav. So when it says zot Torah, it's Torah achat. What does that mean? You got one din for all the menachot. That all the menachot need kemitzah, and the leftovers are going to be eaten by the kohanim. So for obviously, So he says, Ba chitin no kamibaile. Says, if you bring wheat, that's not the question. Kamibaile and the seorim. If you're bringing barley, right? Why? Because how do you know that the leftovers are going to be eaten by the kohanim, by the barley? So he says, Ba mina seorim nami min mikmetzet. Since you're doing kmitza, so you're also going to have the leftovers as well. Shira also. So aliba de rabbanan lo kamibaile, and you're right. According to the rabbis, it's not a question. Ki kamibaile only according to Rabbi Shimon. According to him, there's a mincha that you're going to do kmitza, but it's not going to be eaten. Tetnam, as we learned in the Mishnah, Rabbi Shimon says, minchat chotesh shel kohanim nikmetzet. Hakometz karev atzmo. You're going to bring by itself the kometz, and the shidaim are going to be brought by itself. The kometz is what you go like this with the hands. That's a kometz. It goes by itself. And then the rest of it, the shidaim, also by itself. Menalan, how do you know? So Amar Chizkiah says, Chizkiah Amar Kra, the pasuk says, "V'chol mincha b'lo v'shemen v'charev ha'lecho b'nei Aaron tiyeh im eno inyan leblula shel chitin." If it's not going to be for the blula of the chitin, teneo inyan leblula shel seorin. You're going to bring it for seorin. V'im eno lecharev shel chitin, teneo inyan lecharev shel seorin. V'hai, and this pasuk leach yudata, for what this is what we're talking about. Hamibai lechdetanya. We need it for that which we learned in the Raita. Minayin she'en cholkim menachot keneged zevachim. How do we know that we don't give the kohanim, right, the menachot keneged the zevachim, the opposite of the zevachim of the korbanot? Tamulomar comes teach you on Ayin Gimel Amud Aleph on the top. V'chol mincha shetafem lechol bnei Aaron tiyeh ki'ish ke'achiv. When it says lechol bnei Aaron tiyeh, it's mashma all the kohanim take a chelek in the mincha. Not a kohen is going to take a chelek gadol, right? Bimkom the chelek of the mincha. So all of them are going to take it equally. And the Braita will continue for tomorrow.